Tenz and Sentinels have just regained the title as the best in Valorant after winning the America's Kickoff tournament against Loud. This is drastically different from where Tenz and the rest of his team was just a year ago, where Sentinels looked to be completely washed. So what changed from last year to now that allowed Tenz to revive his superstar career and possibly return to his former peak play? While there's a lot of reasons for this, one of the biggest comes from a player that wasn't even supposed to be on that stage, the vibe merchant Zelsis, giving Tenz one of the best teammates he's ever had. And I'm going to look into why Zelsis is one of the biggest keys to activating Tenz and the rest of the team to win these huge games so far this season, while also looking at the rest of the Sentinels team, as the other changes they have made over the offseason has given Tenz the best team he has had since his Masters Reykjavik run. But first, make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss a single video throughout the Valorant season, as it gets more and more insane. You won't want to miss out this season. So looking back at the team and run they had in the inaugural Americas season, it wasn't pretty, with them finishing in 7th just outside the playoffs after making a late season push after releasing their IGL Def and coach Psycho 6 weeks into the season, as well as having Tenz jump in and out of the lineup due to circumstances outside of Valorant. Ultimately, it was a season that Tenz and Sentinels wanted to forget. And forget they did, as Marv left the team to join NRG, while M80's standout IGL, John QT, joined the roster. Along with him, Zelsis joined the team as a 6th man after leaving Cloud9, where he planned to focus on content while Pinkata stayed on the team. But when Pinkata couldn't play in the end of the Sentinels Invitational tournament during the offseason, Zelsis played as a stand-in, and it was clear right away Zelsis needed to stay on the starting roster, as he quickly became the emotional core and glue for this team looking for a new identity. With him on the team, they went on their way to winning their first trophy in over 2 years against Oxygen. And with that, Sentinels decided to keep with the hot hand, where they won the Africa TV Valorant League against Paper Rex to end the offseason on top. Of course, we know that with Zelsis, Tenz and Sentinels have been able to come out of the season on fire, winning the America's Kickoff event, with Zelsis being the key to why they are able to keep things from spiraling out of control when they're losing, and hype up his team to run away with halves, like we saw against one of the best teams in the world during the Group of Death. With his perfectly timed pop-off moments, you can see the morale of the team always being high, giving Tenz and the team the energy they need to close out maps, which is reminiscent of how Sentinels were during their peak in 2021, albeit Zelsis is naturally less toxic. But not only was Zelsis a great addition personality-wise for the team, but the role flexibility and skill he brought to the roster was extremely valuable, and the reason why they came out of the gates hot this year. During their run at the Kickoff tournament, Zelsis played 4 different agents, with Viper, Brim, KO, and KJ. That's 3 different roles he could slot into for that team, and he not only filled these roles, but excelled in each of them, with specifically his Viper and KO looking top class, at a 1.13 and a 1.15 rating, which was one of the best performances on these agents throughout all the regional Kickoff events. But Zelsis isn't the only teammate that has allowed Tenz to revive his Valorant career. Another big reason is the change in in-game leadership, with John QT joining the team. As last year, they started with Def, then when that didn't work out, they tried Marv, which worked for a bit, but wasn't a permanent fix. With M80's John QT as IGL, it's been clear the difference in prep and protocols they've had in place for the team to fall back on, where when things got chaotic late in the rounds, John QT's prepping of the team allowed them to be drilled enough to be confident in what to do next, usually leading to them being able to close out these close rounds so much more consistently now. Another way the arrival of John QT revived Tenz's career is that he and the rest of the team helped Tenz switch to a more comfortable role within the roster, as he had a hard time trying to find where he fit in Pro Valorant after it was clear he no longer excelled at the duelist entry role. John QT over the offseason had Tenz play more and more Omen on a lot of maps in the pool, leading to Tenz both being able to pull off crazy plays with his OP flash, but since a lot of maps have shifted to a 2-smoke meta, Tenz can still be aggressive, since if he falls early, they have another smokes player in either John QT or Zelsis to keep the team in the round. And with Tenz's aim, it's a safe bet that when he is allowed to play off his own util, he can usually get kills, leading to leads for his team early, that John QT can mid-round with ease to victory. This change in leadership didn't just help Tenz, but also the rest of the players that stayed with the team over the offseason, as Saucy and Zekin just got better this season, which is hard coming from these two, who actually played well last season, but were poorly used like the rest of the team. They both have been able to continue their fragging abilities, as Zekin has fully taken over the entry role from Tenz, while still allowing him to op, allowing Zekin and Tenz to just focus on what they're both best at, while Saucy is always a steady hand for the team, being able to pick up clutches consistently on Initiator, not forcing Tenz to have to be the best player on the server day in and day out, like Sentinels had to rely on ever since winning Masters Reykjavik. Instead, this well-rounded team allowed each player to just fit into their roles and not try to make hero plays, which plagued them in 2023. And because they have so much talent on this team, Tenz can go for plays like this without any worry.
Tenz is still alive here.
And he still wants with the up! Trying to land the shots, missing everything, going wide! He's out! And now John QT shows up and he flees back in!
Spike planted.
Tenz persistent in his approach as he re-aggresses and re-peaks.
Oh my gosh.
Now with the shorty, still.
Oh my gosh, it's not planted for him.
It's gonna be a 2v5. Can Demon 1 pull this off?
Oh!
Can he pull it off? An angel of deliverance is instantly clipped from his wings.
Giving Tenz the opportunity to return to his previous glory. But before we go into how his stats have changed from last year to now, I want to show you a round where each piece we discussed came together to allow Tenz to feel confident in his game. The first being from the NRG game, where elimination was on the line for both teams. And already in round 9 of the first map, Sunset, it looked to be a hard-fought match throughout, with the game razor thin. But for Sentinels, in reality, they had been hanging on by a thread thanks to Zekin's heroics, but it wouldn't last forever, as they needed their other superstar in Tenz to start heating up in the game, as he only had 3 kills so far. So John QT came up with a strategy to both punish a tendency NRG had, and give Tenz an easy kill to start heating up. In NRG's previous match against Cloud9, Demon 1 had great success on defense with the op, as he could pretty much push up as aggressive as he wanted in mid, as he would always get the shot off, usually getting the first kill, and have Marv on Omen be able to use his flash to allow Demon 1 to dash back and not be traded. Sen knew this well, and came up with a hard punish for this, with Tenz and Saucy. Saucy used his Dizzy at the very beginning of the round to confirm presence in mid, which he could retrieve with ease, and have ready to use again quickly. And at the same time, Tenz smokes off mid-top, isolating the NRG players in mid from any support. Demon 1 is in a super aggressive opping spot that, if Tenz isn't careful and jump peaks, he would be taken out early. But Sentinels are aware of this possibility, so they throw the Dizzy to either force Demon 1 to back off when they swing, or even better, blind him if he tries to stay. He picks the latter, hoping Marv can back him up. But Marv is too preoccupied by the fear of a pushout on tiles, which allows Demon 1 to be the first death in this critical early round, as Tenz picks up an easy kill to boost his confidence in the game. And this is when Sentinel's drilling comes into place, as instead of Zekin continuing to push out aggressively and hope for another kill, the team just sits back and resets now with a 5v4 player lead for the real attack. With this lead, they force NRG off a site for the plant, and their post plant was perfect, as after they lost Celsius on the flank, they played 2 on site with Tenz ready to flash at first contact, where he could possibly rake up the kills with his precise aim. While the play didn't work perfectly, it does delay NRG just enough to allow the remaining Sentinels to be able to just take 1v1 fights, then pull back, letting the new player win their own fight, putting NRG out of rhythm as they had to fight from so many different angles. And with those kills and round win, Tenz was brought into the game with his chance for an insane highlight increasing as he got more and more comfortable, with him coming through for the team in the biggest moment in the final round of regulation with this play.
Always pick the right side.
First trip cleared, the dog went all the way around the pillar! Tenz does it again! But can they counter? No! Tenz with 4! Second gets the last! OT on the cards!
And with that, they were able to win overtime to go up 1-0, which led to a 2-1 win to qualify for Madrid. But how much has his stats really changed from last year to the beginning of this season? It's clear there's been a noticeable improvement in all major aspects of his game, all rising, with only his clutch rate being below how he was last year, but even that is barely different. The most impressive stat is how much he improved his first kill to first death ratio, something very impressive for a primarily smokes player, matching up to some of his peak play back in 2021. So with these incredible stats from Tenz during the kickoff tournament, how do I think Sentinels will do in Masters Madrid? Well, you have to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my Masters Madrid predictions. They'll be packed to the brim with brand new stats I've been collecting all throughout the regional tournaments, so you don't want to miss out on that.